to an episode of Rediscovered Movies. I'm your host, Nomfanelo. The film that I will be covering today is Polite Society. Polite Society is a 2023 British martial arts comedy film. It is written and directed by Nida Manzoor, who's known for projects such as We Are Lady Parts, a TV series, and Layla, which is a short film. And this film, Polite Society, marks her feature film directorial debut. The film stars Priya Kansara, Ritu, Arya, and Nimra, Bucha. Here is the synopsis. Martial arts and training Riya Khan believes she must save her older sister Lena from her impending marriage. After enlisting the help of her friends, Riya attempts to pull off the most ambitious of all wedding heists in the name of independence and sisterhood. The film premiered at the 2023 Sundance Film Festival. It was released in theaters on April 28, 2023. It made over $2.6 million worldwide. It opened at number 15 domestically with $817,000, $748. It was beaten by films including the Super Mario Brothers movie, Evil Dead Rise, and Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. In terms of critical reception, it has a 3.6 rating on Letterboxd. At the British Independent Film Awards, it was nominated for four awards, including Best Effects, but Manzoor, she won the Best Debut Screenwriter Award. Now, at the time of this recording, it's available to stream on Prime Video and is available on demand, so check your local provider. All right, let's get into First Discovery. I remember at the time before this movie came out, I did see the trailer and I was very interested because the fact that it is a martial arts movie, I find these types of movies are rarely put out these days, at least from a Western standpoint. Yeah, I was just sold by that alone. I ended up seeing this movie in theaters at the time. It came out during opening weekend. I saw it as a double feature with the action movie Sisu. And honestly, with this movie, I was quite disappointed by it. Because, I don't know, based off the trailer, I was expecting to be like a fun action comedy film, but I just feel like with this film, it was a bit off in regards to tone. And when it came to story, like it has solid ideas, but just some aspects of it for me did not make sense. I'll get into the highlights. I found it was nice that with our protagonist, Ria, she wants to be a stunt woman because I would say for in terms of career aspects when it comes to film, you rarely, at least from my standpoint, you rarely see jobs that are behind the scenes, including stunt people, are rarely like talked about, at least from a mainstream level. Maybe these days that's becoming more discussed, but I remember growing up, it was not widely discussed because I could speak for myself that like I first wanted to be an actor because I saw like a bunch of movies and all that stuff, and I studied to be a performer, but as I grew older, like I became more interested in screenwriting. So I'm more of a writer myself, but I don't mind acting on the side. I love more of the behind the scenes work because I find, at least for myself, there's more control with that than in front of the camera, but that's just me. But yeah, anyways, I'm glad that Ria wants to be a stunt person, and clearly, yeah, with this movie, she admires Eunice Huthart, who's a legend within the stunt community because she's known for doing stunts for a bunch of films, including GoldenEye and the Tomb Raider movies with Angelina Jolie. In fact, apparently, she's known for being Angelina Jolie's stunt double for the majority of her works. And yeah, because I'm not familiar with Eunice myself, but after learning that, I'm like, oh, I'm quite fascinated. I wanted to learn more about her. But with Rhea, yeah, like it's great that she has an admirer. Like she admires someone from that field. And and I love how with her sister Lena helps Rhea out, like with the moves, even though Rhea is kind of a bit rough on the edges. At least as the events go on, she's able to progress her skill set. And as a martial arts movie, I would say for me, the martial arts aspects of the movie is the highlight of the movie. I loved, yeah, it was nicely choreographed. It was nice. Like, I imagined they used wire work when it came to the actors performing the big stunts. I would be disappointed if it was done in post, but from what I could tell, it looked like it was done with wires, I imagine. And I love how that the choreography works, but also too like how the martial arts aspect is used with the storytelling. Because yeah, clearly with Ria, she wants to be a stunt person, is learning martial arts to get to that point. But I love how like it's not just Ria that knows how to fight, but we have the other characters such as yeah, Lena, of course. But even though she's not studying to be a stunt person, but knows the skills, and with our antagonist Rahila, like she could throw some moves, like when you saw her and Ria go down like during the wedding scene. That was just like amazing to see. And even though Rahila is older, at least she's able to throw some punches and kicks here and there. So yeah, I thought that was fascinating. And Rahila as a villain, I find she's quite captivating. Because yeah, clearly her plan is messed up, which I'll get into that for the lowlights. but but man, like she is quite the force to be reckoned with throughout this movie. Like when you, an example is when Arya is getting waxed by Rahila's associates. Because I imagine for Arya is quite painful, as she is essentially restrained by Rahila's workers. But yeah, that was quite fascinating. And as siblings with Ria and Lena, I mean, in terms of the closeness, yeah, you could tell that they're sisters, but they live their lives quite differently, especially when it came to the act one of this movie. So with Ria, like she seems to be very happy at karate school, despite not being quite there yet with her skills, as she tries to perfect the kick that she kept practicing on, and also to dealing with the bully at school, and trying to have a vlog, which I find quite hilarious. But I guess because we're in the 2020s, I mean, I guess everyone has to have a YouTube channel, but neither here or there. But with Lena, on the other hand, she's not quite happy at the beginning, because you see she's very depressed. She's not happy with her art. Like she's kind of reconsidering her life choices until she meets Salim at the Eid party, which changes things, and of course changes the dynamics between her and Ria, which is interesting. And yeah, speaking of the bully, Kovacs, that's her name. Yeah, she often bullies Ria at school, but I liked in a way she gets to reform herself. So because at near the last act, Ria and her friends Alba and Clara, they ask Kovacs to borrow her car, which initially she didn't want to do because I mean obviously they're not close and all that stuff. But eventually she decides to help them out, and man, like Kovacs really turns around during the wedding sequence, because I mean technically she shouldn't have to do it since she rarely knows Rio, or doesn't have any like close relationship, but it just shows that she has a change of heart. So good for her. And I thought it was funny that when I think it was during the dinner sequence with the family, Ria and Lena's father offers Lena to work as a receptionist. And it's so funny, all the women there, they refuse. Like, I don't think like the father has ill intentions, but I mean, he's trying to help her out, at least to try to get her to land on her feet. But it was just hilarious how like the women on the table, including the mother, outright just said no to the father. Because I imagine in that scenario the mother would agree to that, but it's funny that how everyone else essentially refused, like they didn't want that to happen. Also too, when it came to the engagement, when Ria finds out about Lena's engagement to Salim, it was just hilarious, like with the reaction shots where you see everybody is looking happy. You could argue that Rahila has that evil smirk, while Ria is obviously upset here. So I thought that was just comedic gold, especially once they showed that shiny engagement ring. Chef's kiss there. Chef's kiss. And also, too, I enjoyed the fight between Ria and Lena. This was when after Lena not Lena, when Ria decides to go undercover to look into Salim with Alba and Clara at the gym. That sequence was quite hilarious. But the fight scene, I thought that was quite funny. Like, I guess that was needed to have both of them share their frustrations because Ria wants Lena to live a certain way, but Lena like refuses. Essentially, she wants to do what she wants, and yeah, clearly that scene was needed between them. But I do want to point out that when I believe Ria crashes through the door, clearly the door is cardboard. Is cardboard. That was hilarious. And as a final note, I had Ria's dance during the wedding sequence. I thought that was fun, even though clearly she's being the distraction and all that stuff. I just thought it was nicely choreographed, and like Ria looked nice with that green ensemble that she's wearing. And yeah, I would say the costumes during that sequence were exquisite, I would say. And clearly, like with Ria's reaction shot, she's, taking shots towards Salim and Rahila there. So that was nice to see. And let's go into Lowlights. So I just wished, I don't know, maybe this could have been based off my expectations based off the trailer, but I just wish that this movie was more nutty or more energetic. I just feel like tonally it just was not consistent because it feels like on one point it wants to be like that campy balls to the walls action movie, but on the other hand it wants to be taken seriously when it comes to the story, particularly with when it came to like the climax and the whole Rahila's plan and what Lena is going through essentially. So I just wish the tones were consistent, or at least take one direction over the other. Um, I feel like since this is structured as an action comedy, I felt like they could have, I don't know, honed into that more. Because like with films such as Hot Fuzz or like Kung Fu Hustle, they do a good job balancing those genres as they're trying to create their own world. Because I do wonder that because of everyone, at least the central characters in this movie, are doing the martial arts scenes. Like, because I wondered though, like if there were like restraints in terms of how far to take that direction. I feel like that could be the reason why the tones and the energy was just a bit off, but I just felt like it could have been pushed further, like especially when it's paying homage like to the this type of stunts you see in a lot of the classic action movies. So I felt, yeah, that could have been better. Also, too, as a low light, we need to talk about Rahila's plan. So apparently, like she chooses Lena to be Salim's girlfriend, but later partner, essentially because she wants to impregnate Lena to with her clone, essentially, which is weird because when confronted on why, Rahila pretty much says, quote, to be the woman she's destined to be. What? What is that? That's just off because isn't she the woman that she is right now? Because clearly, I mean, I don't know what she's doing career wise, but she seems to be doing fine. Like she's able to provide for herself and Salim. So I do not get that choice because I think a more believable choice would have been if, let's say, she was dying and let's say doesn't, wants to live longer, wants to, or to increase her life expectancy. Why not just try to find someone to be like a candidate, I suppose, maybe to some either heal her sickness or something, and perhaps Lena is the most viable option. I don't know, something along that lines. But the whole clone thing, that just came out of nowhere. When I watched that the first time, I'm just like, no, no, get out of here. No. Or like you could have just had Rila being bad for the sake of being bad, where essentially through Ria's eyes, she essentially wants to disrupt the relationship between her and Lena, and and Ria essentially wants to do whatever she takes to take her down. You know, one of those could have been a more viable option. Just keep it simple, I suppose. But the choice with the clone thing, I'm like, no, that's just ridiculous. And I felt as though that during the Eid sequence, I found it was too early for Lena to discover the photos of the women, which included Lena, because I feel like as though that um, she would have been skeptical of Rahila and Salim from the jump because she sees them as an obstacle that's creating that wedge between her and Lena. So maybe just have all of that stuff revealed, like maybe when Ria is at Rahila's house to have that impromptu spa day, essentially with that sequence. But yeah, I just felt like that was too early. It could have waited till later. Also, too, I just wondered, does Ria want to keep Lena to herself? Because it seems that throughout this movie, Ria is very focused on herself. She wants to have that mentorship or whatever that is with Eunice, and constantly hounds her with multiple emails, which is concerning. Um, and essentially, Ria, she, wants to have her YouTube channel, which honestly, she doesn't really focus on a YouTube channel, but I guess what, because she's a teenager, you need to have YouTube channels. I don't know. But, but yeah, I feel like not Lena, Ria is quite controlling because she tells the parents and she tells everyone essentially that, oh, Lena wants to be an artist, even though Lena is unsure of being an artist. And after the events of the movie, I feel like she's still unsure. if she wants to be an artist. So, but honestly, it's Lena's call of what she wants to be essentially. So I don't get why Ria wants to be very controlling of her sister's actions throughout this movie. Because I mean, I do get that she wants to look out for Lena, even though Lena is older than Ria. But at times, you could argue that Ria goes a bit too far, especially when it came to trying to plant fake evidence to make Salim, less credible. But yeah, I think Ria just needed to learn boundaries, even though she's trying to look out for her sister, but there needs to be boundaries. And I feel like as though that when Ria sends the multiple emails to Eunice, it just felt a bit weird because Ria does not know Eunice, at least on a personal level, to be sending those emails. Because I've learned myself, like in the business, that if you hound someone that you're trying to like get either a mentorship or trying to send projects and all that stuff, if you keep hounding them multiple times, and that's not a good look. So I just felt like Ria, should have just sent the one email, and then if, let's say, there's no response, maybe wait either a couple weeks or months, but not like immediate. Because if honestly, like if Ria, she's very upset with what's happening with her and Lena, she could have consoled her friends Alba and Clara, because that's what friends are for. But it was just weird for Ria to just email that to Eunice, like after she realized she messed up Lena and Salim's relationship with her actions. So there's that. And also to Eunice, that voice cameo towards the end, that was just weird in terms of how that was framed. So, so I guess after what went down, Ria and Lena, they find an email from Eunice where essentially, Eunice wants to, be Ria's mentor and all that stuff. But it was just weird how they decide to say all that as narration. That was weird because it could have been either a voicemail, where Ria, finds like a voicemail on her phone, or just have Ria read the message out loud because it's just weird to have someone read an email with the other person's voice said out loud. That's just off to me. And when it came to after the defeat, after defeating Rahila, Rhea and Lena, they decided to eat cheeseburgers, which in a way kind of reminded me of the whole shawarma scene from the Avengers. Because if you remember that movie, I think Tony Stark makes a point that, oh, once we're done defeating Loki, let's go eat shawarma, essentially, because they keep teasing that throughout the movie. Then they show as a post-credit scene, they're eating shawarma. But here with this movie, they decide to just go eat without without any context. Like that was just weird. Like they could have just removed that, or I don't know, just have that as a post-credit scene. I don't know, because I think, like, yeah, just after defeating Rahila, the movie could have ended there, and then have Eunice's message as a post-credit scene. But the whole eating the cheeseburgers and fries scene, it was just corny to me, to be honest. That didn't need to be there. And lastly, as a final note, I think the choice to have the titles and the chapters, it was not necessary in this case. That could have just been removed. I mean, yeah, I would say that's more of as a preference, but like, I mean, I get you want to like structure, certain aspects, but I don't know. It was just not needed, to be honest. So there's that. So for trivia, I could not find anything on this movie, But I did find this note on Wikipedia where apparently the structure of the movie doesn't adhere to a specific genre throughout, but the director Manzoor apparently described portions of it as a joyful kung fu Bollywood epic, and apparently also drew from spaghetti westerns, All About Eve, Hong Kong kung fu films, and the work of Yuan Wo-ping. Additional influences include the 2002 version of Devdas, I guess, which was the part with when Ria dances to Mar Dal at the wedding. Also to the novels of Jane Austen, Jackie Chan, Ashwarya Ray Bachran, Get Out, Kill Bill, Mira Nar, Deepa Mehta, and The Slums of Beverly Hills. That's a lot of influences, and I could tell like with some or most of these. I'm not too familiar with some of the references here, but good on that. So, lastly, should this movie be rediscovered? Now, here's what I'll say. So, I think in terms of the martial arts aspects of the movie, they work. They were the highlights for me. Obviously, especially as someone that grew up watching those types of movies, it's always nice to see those on screen. But I think as a whole, the film itself does not work. It has a lot of flaws, especially when it came to the storytelling aspect of it. So that's my answer on that. So that pretty much concludes this episode of the podcast. So you can find me on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at Numphy Malloy. You can find the podcast on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at RD Movies Pod. If you want to support the podcast, you can visit buymeacoffee.com/RD Movies Pod to donate. On Spotify, you can answer the featured poll, leave a comment, and rate the podcast. On Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review and rate the podcast. And you can submit questions, comments, and suggestions by email, which is rediscoveredmovies@gmail.com, to be featured for the after show, which will air after the season finale. So, all right, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you on the next one.